recess. This is a continuation of a meeting that started this morning, August the 9th, 2022. This is only item left, agenda item left is budget hearings. At this time, we have before us the Honorable Marshall Eubank, the Hill County District Clerk. If you would, Ms. Eubank. Have you had a chance to see your budget?
What page, Doug?
What?
We haven't seen them.
No, have you had a chance to see your budget? I mean, I input the information, so I'd like to say I saw
I
something.
guarantee she saw it.
Yeah, so, okay. You got the floor.
So the vote was awesome. I only have a couple of questions and then
Cool.
some observations.
Shoot up, we got it.
So the first one, and I'm just looking at operating supplies,
Okay,
all those are amazing. I think the new Pitney Bowes machine contract must be in this new line item for machining for the ground.
we're trying to put that in non-departmental. We may have stuck it under you, but instead of making you responsible for the Pitney Bowes machine, we are planning on putting it under non-departmental since it is important. So which one, it's your machine equipment and rentals at 6,372 right now. So let me tell you what we've got in there in detail. Right now, there's a Xerox for 2,723 a year. There's another Xerox for 1,812.36 a year. There is a Pitney Bowes machine, the old 475 series at 1,136. I don't know. Okay, that's the old one. It's gonna go bye-bye. And then the overage, we have an overage of 700 for black and white or color copies. That's just what the auditor think needs to be the buffer. Yeah, and so that number may be high.
No, it's.
Yeah, so,
If you take off that, the old mills.
okay, so let's do that. We're gonna ditch the old mill machine, and we will go
Is
here.
that unit out of lease and the salesman is under instruction to come and get it.
Okay, so recurring. Come on. Sorry, we're having a latency issue here at the moment. Okay,
And he still hasn't gotten back to me, by the way, on the fixing the online account.
I noticed the emails have kind of slowed down suddenly.
So
I don't know if another game in
if you're
town.
fine with it, I'm thinking, you need to postpone this stuff. You can do that for your-
Yeah, we don't have anybody, we don't, yeah. Go ahead and post.
I want that to be configured correctly before they deploy it.
I think that's a good plan, so,
Okay.
good deal. All right, what else you got?
So that's the only thing in those two areas. What I wanted to talk to you about, we're talking about salaries first. or
Sure.
we're talking about private?
Whichever way you want to go.
Let's talk about, that's probably good news and the bad news.
No, if there's good news, it's not Tyler. What do you got?
So I just wanted to point out to you, and I kind of did it. I'm going to see. For the record.
Yeah, we're wired up.
This is my salary schedule.
Mhm,
I know that, hanging the proposed budget for this year,
mhm,
there's a code entry
mhm.
in the favor of the proposed contingency to utilize pay. I
Okay,
have one clerk who's newer, and remember that half of our staff are senior like me, and will be eligible to retire in the next 5 years.
Mhm.
So you know what that does to the highly complicated technical requirements of each and every position in the district clerk's office. It puts me at a huge hiring deficit. I have one younger clerk that I hired since I've been on this span. My goal is to get her elevated up with near my senior chief pay,
okay.
because A, she's dedicated and B, I don't want to lose her. And I say that because with an entry level position, for $18 an hour. My two chief deputies make $18.53 an hour, and they've been here collectively for more than a half century. I mean, I don't know where that falls on your radar value of the resources, but.
Yeah, we value employees greatly, no doubt. I mean, when you think about that one, then there, it's, nobody wants to work in the jail. And that's been the biggest issue, but it's difficult because they can offer more and take your employees away if you pay the train. That is a bit of an issue with your brother.
I mean, what I find ridiculous is that it's all of them, permanent growth. That's the thing that depends on mind. So take that for what it is. I'm very grateful and happy with the budget, the way it's proposed, and it supports those who fit to, give a across the board increase and reevaluate how we compensate employees to ensure that justice continues to move. I'm excited.
Good deal. That is our goal at the moment. There's 5% cost of living incorporated into the proposed budget. And then we will be setting aside a large sum of money and a contingency so that we can reevaluate how we are running our pay schedule. Because I just think there's too much disparity in it between offices. We're not doing a good job of saying where this person is, not valued as a person, but valued as a skill set that they bring to the organization. And there's a lot of discrepancy in that.
Okay, yeah. This morning I had a 35-minute conversation with John Gilbert, who is the executive vice president over our region. And, laughing, we'll also be surrounding get ready for this. I'm going to give you a brief outline of all of the pilot projects that we still have pending. Mind you, many of these were deployed in the first year that I took office, which was the third state year. So you did go live with management on 7/18. That was our criminal brief trial, and then we used to get in for 7/6. So there was a law. I think Judge Harris wants to bring that up at the window, so that's there, but I haven't. We've done it in test over and over and over again. The challenge with these production environments is you can't really test it until you are in the live state. So I think we've addressed many of the issues that they're working on. We have a couple of tests to perform before our next one. E-response has been, I kind of told jurors once they're seated about who use the new IVR and the response. The response to that has been great. They like it. It's interactive. They get about 3 o'clock in the morning. Find out the status. They can go online with pensions, qualifications, find out all kinds of stuff like their pay history, their service history, blah blah. The next big thing on our to-do list is portal. In this last legislative session, the legislature said that every document we sell $1 a copy for 10 pages and cents for every page. I don't have the staff or the configuration of any kind of electronic solution yet to accomplish that. So that means revenue is going out the window, and so I made this urgent, which was the very first subject that I spoke to John this morning. Susan, you probably know about this issue. The JPs and myself, two of the JPs, text early conflict. The very problem with it is that the 7-Eleven machine use over counter, and I was there's something control for evil where it captures the convenience, dumps it in your bank account, you have to pay Tyler at the end of the month.
None of us do. This is the
So
first
John,
one we pay.
this is who John said that's how it works for us, I'm like, I was handing out in there 17 different solutions for government out there, and this means you can't be captured on the best. I mean, it's just.
No, but we don't have that for anybody,
Right.
except for when it's come up with this new thing with Jessica and Jay and Judge.
Yeah, so I said, we have to get that addressed, because he's saying to me that configuration that we deployed, the 7-Eleven. over the counter was the precursor step to completing our configuration portal. Great. But he's telling me now that portal works exactly the same way. In other words, when someone goes online to buy documents or pay a court cost, it's going to dump that fee, that convenience fee in our OUI account, and we're going to have to tell you not. It's going to keep happening. I don't know, we're just going to have to address that with them. The whole portal configuration was devised in the original agreement with them in 2017 for prior to conversion. This has to be fixed. And that portal is accessible at free-level privileges. Those folks can go on there and draft documents. Yeah, guess what? They produce. So, the urgency for me is we're not flexibility compliant, and I want to offer this to the JP because 99% of the people that want to I think should do it simply and close their cases immediately. In addition to all of these folks that want to pay, payment plan. It's so much easier to do that. The advantage is that it is integrated with us. So when we come in the morning with all of the receipts associated with those. And my girls are happy to post. On August the 3rd, we launched workflow task queue configuration. That'll start as the same as our degree application for the weekly meeting. This is a much bigger project because it involves all products and how documents move and how to present to judges for consideration. Coupling with that project, we deploying all of it. And I think Philip, sorry, he already has those things we have purchased in our inventory. We just don't have it loaded yet for those to be offered. And that will come with the full development of the work on this. The two big, huge miss areas for the district clerk's office is affects all the courts that collect criminal cash bonds. Those are posted at the sheriff's office or out of county or out of county arrests. They come to us. The original configuration was set up to be able to post those criminal cash bonds. I think the financial back-end configuration doesn't exist in that, which is horrible. You open up a defendant's case and a cash bond is going to apply to his financials and or refunded to the defendant. If you can't see that trail of events in the financial, you have to go to find the district clerk memos and where the check number was, how much it was, all of it. I spoke to John at least this morning about that, and she did that's got. So that we will clear that and make it match from the bank account to the finance. The second thing is the two old DC account and some of the old registry account. We've been here since, they've been addressed by every outside auditor for the last decade. And many of these predate Charlotte, maybe even before her.
Before Charlotte, or she said, Virginia Clemens, I think, and maybe even before her.
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a man.
So here's a really fun fact. One of those accounts has $282,000. My savings description gives my opinion of the tax office that many of those funds are excess proceeds that should be used to that local tax increase. So before we mail them off to the state, I really would like to get those. Problem, I don't have people to do that. Our ideal was rather than hiring the person that we have to sustain year in and year out, we dedicated a number of months or however long it takes to do that research. Because now, management project, every case is in order from 25 in every case. So you can walk into criminal and you can find the first case from sovereignty to today organized. So that makes researching this thing much easier. Why? Because they're walk out to the LOC and you go to the file and find it. So that's a huge project that I want to get out. I think that should be high on the priority list. Why? Because I think we're sitting there and absolutely nothing wrong with something. I will share it long as the board factors they love that. That's something that has to, I feel like could probably be addressed outside of the particular budget. Why? Because financials kind of live in the treasurer auditor territory. I'm bringing these subjects to you because it's not something I asked for funding for, but with the Tyler project, like Tyler does, Tyler has a million different remedies for everything. You can buy, because they love us so much. And by the way, they want to farm here and all the rest of it. So they offer what's called team support and clients that CSAM dedicated CSAM support to dedicate a certain amount of time and effort. Big counties do this on the regular. So they'll hire a dedicated CSAM And that dedicated season, my cost, I mean, the minimum is $1,000. Service. And then you give them part that dates and all of those. It's the challenge for me as a district clerk is that I work with product centers, the jail. And I work with the attorney manager on felony misdemeanor. So, and then of course, AG court, which is judge area. So all of those documents moving around the product center. Have to have configurations out of my scope. So I have to involve IT, and IT doesn't use this application day in and day out, and they're extraordinarily supportive. I can't tell you how much help Henry has been through our JMS. But we absolutely have to say, we've spent a bunch of money for this monster that we have. Well, where are we gonna go? Are we gonna actually get all of these things that we devised and deployed actually work the way that they're supposed to? I mean, for Nicole and I, we use file because that's mandated on the civil side, and now in subsequent filing, all criminal. We can move those documents in and out of the seamlessly. And that configuration has to be done, it has to be done across product. I can't do it for, the attorney manager for the whole portion of case manager or jail. So I don't know if this is something we want to tackle in one fell swoop and say, okay, let's consider hiring a dedicated staff, give them some hard deadlines, or do we just open up the conversation and say, let's talk to them, get them down here, get them to sign up and dedicate some time, or do we buy training hours? Do we buy 300 or 200 training hours, tackle those projects that we've already paid for, so that we have the support of them? I can tell you that with what we spent for jury management, the work for Henry and I spending literally 8-10 hours a week on configuration, it would have got because we did it ourselves.
And we paid them to do it. That was part of the program. So
It's
I guess,
part of it, but they don't know our business project. I heard that once a million times.
and I think that's their easy.
Okay, well, you don't know the process. So you tell me, I mean,
That's their out for their charging more. I guess my biggest concern about this, we already paid these people, they gave us deadlines, these contracts went to court. And they failed meeting these deadlines, and now I gotta pay them for more, and when does it stop? I mean,
No, I
I
feel like they have this in the rock and hard place, we're small in their eyes. If we were bare out of one of these bigger food counties, we could afford to just throw $100,000 to do a massive project. And then, then that functionality dribbles down. The great thing about product development is you do get big counties contributing. The problem is that when you want to deploy that much of the smaller counties, there's nobody locally who supports that. Who trains us? Where do we get the guidance and support, the configuration support? That's what our IT departments, they're outside that. They don't use these applications in office day to day.
And
And
that's,
so
for example, like, some of the stuff, we paid for that up front, and pay back contract, but we paid Tyler for training and for support and for configuration as part of this project. And I know that they don't know, I get that. But it seems like if they've only advocated their duties under the contract, now they're coming back to us and go, well, if you want us to perform, you gotta pay us more money. And I'm kind of curious, I know he takes a very dim view of that kind of thought, but my curiosity is, all right, let's say we did it hypothetically. Well, where are we at in a year? If they say, oh, well, it wasn't enough, we need more time, we need more money. I'm afraid of, feeding the bear too much in this.
no,
story. But your first, yeah.
testament to that too. You gave the private help on the criminal plea configuration. And Nicole and I spent 2.5 days locked and loaded in front of the computer, doing the final corrections on.
I remember it was terrible, and you guys had to go back through and fix so much of
The
it.
night,
It's insane how bad their work product is.
The other thing is, don't they have to do the same thing between the different courts and all?
bingo.
This is not unique here. The only thing different is we're one of 3 counties where the district clerk sees all filings. That's just the routing process in your program. That's all that is. So it's not difficult.
I think ours is more complex because we have interactive products. like in Byron County, it's totally sophisticated, they have a district attorney, and they have, and they're just. For the longest time, they were only two in their process, and district clerk was the administrator for both applications. So. Do you have a lot of freedom to move stuff around? Sure, now their county clerk is going on, they're now, I haven't got any feedback from her on how her converting went or how it's going. But, you know, it presents a whole new roast. I mean, ask people on it. I mean, every month. we can think about it.
Well, that's a really argument is to Odyssey up front. They have this, they just done us before your time, but they have this reputation. This is what they do. They take your money and they don't provide the services they're supposed to provide. I mean, Dallas County followed them for a decade just to get their OCA reports right after they paid the install house.
So I do multiple.
I can believe that it's bad.
All, and now with the new legislation on warrants, where we have to report FTA, violation of law conditions or committed the subsequent offense, we have to report those, and the only way I can do that is, I mean, literally run the report and then count how many FTAs, and I have to do that across all of it. It's my, and time consuming. And so, you know, my challenge going forward. Okay, do I pay 2 or 3 more clerks to do this stuff that this application is supposed to do? I mean, and with what salaries cost and the level of expertise that it takes to operate these, when I've been here 2 years and I'm just getting my head around it. I don't think it's sustainable going forward. We either pay Tyler to help us get it straight, devise these, you know, these workflows, and train our folks exactly the way we want them, or we stay stuck in this between electronic and manual somewhere, and we're sustaining employee salaries to do it the hard way.
I
I
get
don't know what the answer is, but I feel like sustaining, employee salaries is much higher cost than let's test the waters and say by 300 training hours, or hire dedicated CSAM and hold their feet to them.
Or the third way, hold their feet to the fire on the contracts they already have with us is also an option. It's all things we need to explore. I love your idea about getting them down here. Let's get them down here and talk to them and see what it is. Because we have our contracts and our council that is laid out in front of us. But here's what you guys signed off on and agreed to. Where are we at in this process? I mean, threatening litigation against anybody is just a non-starter at this
No,
point.
it's-
So, but at the same time, we need to hold them accountable for what they've taken from us.
We need great working relationship, all of these families.
Good,
and our citizens. I think because to have an adversary relationship, that's.
I agree.
They close the door and we really have their permission. In our AWS migration, they took us from Tyler Post Facility over to Amazon Web Services with a train. I mean, we were down, so out of the half of the morning, I was going crazy, it was insane. And we were patient and kind, and I have to give kudos to Philip and Henry because they worked their tail off to get that back on.
Mhm.
But it's stuff like that that happens behind the scenes that nobody sees face forward. And the challenges our clerks feel every day when these functions don't work the way they were devised. And so for me, as as the department head who's navigating all of these challenges, I have to say to myself, well, I would love to hire 3 more people to do this function, and I would love to hire somebody to, dedicated to the county. But, first of all, it's the expense of doing that, and it's sustainable. But even more importantly, we paid for a product in 2017 that we're only using the surface. And I feel like we have an obligation to A, complete the deployment of it, and B, train our people. If we're not, then we're just throwing money at it. Literally. And I don't know, and there's, 3 or 4 people. I don't like personal that has rule, and I just don't want to people, honestly, if I go as we go forward, these sports are only going to get busier every year, substantial increase in content. And that's attributed to population movements, how many people ebb and flow up and down the center stage, and that can go on. But I'm grateful that you put these things on your radar, and really start having a strong conversation.
That was part of that.
I'm an army of one, and I feel like all of these other products and if they get on board. When we really start getting the elevated, senior executive folks involved with Tyler, where they see that, we're not a small, doesn't matter, mid-sized county. We're in the big middle of the mix, and going forward, having all of these components in place is going to position us for when we become winners. Hopefully, after.
I think one of the first questions we need to start is meeting with them, pull our contracts out, see what they owe us, see what we paid for, see what they're gonna do in the first place, and ask, why is this not done? Why are you taking my money? Why are we got elected officials coming up here asking for new products? We're just not gonna say any more new products for Tyler at all until such time that they do some of this. Again, if that's CSAM, hours or something ultimately is the way it's gotta go, we'll entertain that. No one's saying no to it. But I think the first we have.
And that's what that graphic does on both sides. The one side it talks about that dedicated option, and the other side it talks about.
Well, before I'd ever vote to do that, we're gonna have to have some security from them and something in writing that says we're gonna perform X, Y, and Z, because they've not performed anything to date.
I wanted to put it on all
Okay.
and it may not happen in this budget. But I mean, I feel like that's just gonna be something that when you get all of the priorities addressed. I'd like to see, in the mix of consideration, particularly as we start facing the next 3 years and continue resource deficit.
No doubt. Commissioner's question for the district clerk.
From this.
It's funny on the new credit card, it's ridiculous. It's one thing. We've been taking credit cards forever, the tax office, the county clerk, the district clerk, and the convenience fee has never gone to us. And we had to pay them later. It's never since I've been here.
Exactly,
Never.
and it should have been on setup the way you do it. I speak from experience because I played general counsel for a merchant service corporation. My wife happens to run. So yeah, they used to set up on the back end. These people are just telling stories. They didn't do their job right the first time. There's just no reason for us to do that.
I mean, had we known that that's how they configured it, I would been not making our conviction to the JP stuff.
No,
Or, and of course, I was conversations they're used to, well, we have a better.
but we can pay for more. Give us more money for less. Yes.
It's called.
The audacity of those people.
Access or something, it's, mobile based or whatever, and it collects the convenience without time sale.
They're brazen is what gets me. I just cannot believe people will come back to for money for this time and time again after they intentionally screwed them. I mean, it's almost intentional at this point on our behalf. It's terrible. So.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, let's mop up and clean up what we have. And, really start to have a conversation firmly with them that needs to be our focus before we're going anything else. And if it means finding them to take 3 hours to avoid having personnel hired over the next couple of years, I'm all for that. But.
See what we can get accomplished working together.
Okay.
So, anything further for the district clerk, gentlemen? If not, yeah, go ahead.
This morning, I wondered if that's anything. I know she has an employee, 13. I thought we were adjusting the people who were making $114.
Yesterday we said I'm 13, but we can,
Oh, okay.
well, this is what we said around the table yesterday. But again,
Is that really adjusting people?
those were people that set in their merit raises, which everybody is aware of. They can do that at this point. The last time we'll consider those will be August 23rd. The people under 12 under 13 that come before the court, they had small budgets like my office. I have one person. I'm not worried about doing anything there, but those offices don't have the auxiliary funds or the ancillary funds available to make that merit increase. It's always been a problem with this plan. If you've got a big office, plenty of people, you can take care of your folks, we'll tell your salaries move around. If you've got a small office, 1 people, 2 people, you don't have enough room to do this. So that's part of the inequity in this whole system that we've had. But yeah, anybody on 13. And one of the things we do need to go back to, and again, setting aside funding to fix this payroll schedule. Look, what is the base? We need to have a conversation amongst all elected officials. What is our base? How are we going to play it full time? What's the base we're gonna pay on part-time? And these are conversations we need to have together and have publicly and understand that we need to have some uniformity because it's pretty difficult to hire somebody over here and the same skill set pays 30% more over here. And it's difficult to keep and train employees if another office can pick them away from you because there's no parity across the offices for the same job duties. No offense to anybody here, it's not intended, my hypothetical is such, if we have a clerk one here and a clerk one here, hypothetically, those job descriptions should be pretty much the same. And there should be some parity in pay between those job descriptions. I'm not seeing that in our system. It just seems whatever, however it panned out, it is what it is at the moment, and it's not there. It needs to be fixed. Whether that's adjusting the current system, that's building a whole new system, burning the thing down and completely redoing it, whatever it is, that there needs to be some parity built in, and we need to have a level of discussion about what is the base, what's the lowest that's reasonable in this market to hire, to pull someone in to do a certain job. So, and, yeah.
I don't believe when she remembered this. This is the number we do on television.
Is it realistic for this job market, though? I mean, I know we have things coming out, but he's possibly in 25 is going to be here. We've got X, we've got Y. We've heard stories of people 18, but you look at the employers around town, I think getting with Art Man's a good idea. Once we move to the manufacturing sector, we're working with a group called the Retail Coach now, and trying to get some information across the retail sector is what it's going to be. Are they wrestling up there again today? I don't know. It's loud. So getting more information in our pocket as well is important. And I know we're taking guesses at things we hear, but what does the market really bear? And we have a duty to the taxpayer to make sure that we're paying that, not something up here, but something where the market is. And I don't have answers to all those questions today. Those are things that we need
And
to
honestly, from, you know, the heights or at least the skill set that I want to acquire in the future. It's all about quality rather than quantity. I would much rather have, you know, 4 or 5 highly skilled trained folks that are dedicated and have a work ethic than have 25 employees that are at the, you know, basement level of employment per hour wage. Because I know I'm not going to get that's, you know, sophisticated of a skill set.
So,
And really compensation for these younger folks, they don't hear about those.
yeah, we're seeing that. We're seeing that for sure. We got plenty of people.
They're not, you know, they're all about what they can pay, you know, what they can earn per hour. As opposed to benefits, because the benefits aren't going to get. Or paying works. That's.
Benefits 33% of most salaries around here used to be our biggest draw, which is not. All right, anything else from Mr. Clerk, gentlemen? I don't think so much, man. Appreciate it. What's up? This is Tina Lincoln, our juvenile probation office chief. How are you today, Ms. Lincoln?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Wonderful. Guys, her department is under non-departmental. You'll see really, her budget is set by the juvenile board, but we do fund approximately 98,000. I think at 98,000. Hold on, I just logged myself out again. I have a doing now this program.
So I actually got some pretty comprehensive information for you guys, because I just think that's really beneficial and useful for you guys to be able to see a whole picture of what our department looks like. Judge, are you ready or you want me to wait?
No, you
just
go
a moment?
ahead. You roll on.
Okay. In that first pocket, when you open the folder, is just the overall departmental budget, and that's basically a spreadsheet that's got really tiny numbers on it. But I always do that just so that I have a full picture of what my budget looks like yearly. If you move to the very first page, that's in that folder, you're going to see what we requested for the Polk County Fund. And on that particular account, we requested a total of $97,000, which is an increase of $4,650 from last year. And then, of course, we have requested the same amount in our utility expenses moving forward for this next year.
So what does that word increase represent?
That does represent basically 5% of our Polk County Fund budget, but I did also do the 5% across the board increases for each of the staff within the office as well. And so that will kind of capture all of that information for you and breaks it down specifically for the Polk County Fund itself specifically, which is what the county pays for If you move to the following page, that has our TJJD state funding. And I admittedly was really disappointed this year, and it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but our state budget was cut by $30, approximately $30 this year. And I have been very involved legislatively, spoken at a recent meeting in front of an LBD representative, a legislative budget board representative, and I'm like, I don't understand how a county my size that is growing, but that operates 3 discretionary programs that are not mandated by the state of Texas, while we still continue to get cut every budget cycle. And so that is one thing that I'm going to be really working heavily on is what I've asked the state is, please look at me individually. Don't look at me from a state perspective of size, but please come take a look at what work we're doing with the minimal resources that we have. I have a total of 6 staff members. I do not have an administrative assistant or secretary. And we, amongst the 6 of us, manage all the programs inside of our office. And most small counties in the state of Texas do not do those same things. We are the smallest county in the state of Texas that has a truancy prevention program, a drug court program, and a JJADP program.
Yeah, which we're not required to operate.
Yeah, none of those programs are we required by law or mandated to have. And so arguably I've asked, I've really just asked them, I'm like, please come take a look at what we're doing on a daily basis, because I don't want to be just lumped into a small county equation anymore. I want to be funded for the services that we're actually provided.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am on that committee. So y'all knows my voice can be very loud at times, and I'm definitely at the table and having conversations and going to be really incredibly involved in this next legislative process. Because I feel like there's just so much more fight that we've got to do for the juvenile probation field.
Shove it down our throats next session.
Huh?
Don't bother juvenile probation without the county.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement in that. And I can tell you, I was listening to the JJFI, which is the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Subcommittee this morning, talking about the crisis in the state facility, the TJJD. And, there is a lot of conversation about, number one, do we shut down TJJD, where we no longer have a place to put secure youth that need to go to that facility? Does the state put that under TDCJ, where those kids are now going to be going to TDCJ instead of TJJD?
Instead of work better, because when they combine TJJD and youth probation, 15-year-old program, we said that was a terrible idea. It only dragged youth probation down. Drug this program down ever since. It never fixed the original problem. Until the state gets to that cap, they don't have a single clue how to run that, turn it over to somebody that can. It continues to cost us at the county level more money each year. This is a fraction of what we put into these things. It's insane.
It is. And one of the things I do, and what I've actually encouraged our leadership is, I have said to them, you guys have got to have county commissioners, county judges, county prosecutors, district attorneys. They have to be at the table and being able to have conversations, because all of these unfunded mandates that continue are affecting us locally. And it's making it harder for us to do our job effectively and efficiently the way we've always done it, with less and less money each year. So we are fighting for a lot. And like I said, I'm going to be at the Capitol a lot over the next 2 years, and I'm going to definitely be wanting more money. I think there's some good conversations moving forward, but we have a lot of work to do to stop this constant bleed from our juvenile probation facilities. The next page is just our tuition account, which provides information that we utilize for our JJAP program. Looking there, we get funded $50,000 from TJJD that basically pays the salary and most of the fringe benefits for my instructor. The rest of it comes from tuition costs that we collect each year. And so right now we are looking at operating for next year at $68,515. And that's pretty accurate for where we stay each year. Of course, moving on to the CJD funds on the next page, those are our 2 grant fundings. One of the resources that we've always relied upon was Hot Hog. They would actually give us about $4,500 a year. You can see that that's been cut as well, down to $2,700. So again, we continue to see these incredible cuts. Our juvenile resource officer grant has also been cut by approximately 30,000. Luckily, TJJD has stepped back in and said, we do want prevention, we do want intervention. So no, that's a shared expense between that grant application as well as my state agency. So there's just a lot of cuts that we've experienced and we continue to experience. And you guys can go through and look through the rest of some of that information, but I wanted to highlight just a few things for you guys towards the back. If you go to the page that has, that's right information, the end of Hill County Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program end of year management summary. That just provides you an overview of the students we served in our JJP program this year. We served a total of 12 students from varying different campuses throughout the county. We do serve all 12 school districts, so they are all entered into an MOU with us. One thing I'm really excited about is our average daily attendance was 94%. We actually increased that from the year before.
What kind of funding do we see from the school district?
They pay daily a tuition rate of 95 per day.
Okay. So they come out of their ADA money or local monies, or how does that operate?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly where that comes from. I would assume it's ADA because they still do get their ADA monies.
Okay.
And so we're just kind of that subchapter of that. But I know that all of them generally try to budget a small amount into their budgets.
So what is their ADA actually number? What do they get a day per student nowadays? I haven't kept up with that. over the
Do you
years.
know? I don't even know. I'd have to look. I will go back and look at that because it's been a while since I've even looked at that too.
Curiosity, if we're taking that kid on, why are we only taking a fraction of the money they're getting for it? Why shouldn't we get more of that to offset our costs? Because you've got needs, you got a need for a vehicle, you got a need for people, you got
Yeah.
a need for money. I really probably ought to start having conversations with schools. Like, we've been at 95 for a while. Life's getting expensive. Sorry about it. We gotta go up.
Yeah, and I plan to, I actually, after this year, because we do have a surplus of funds and we because we keep having so many kids unfortunately expelled. I mean, we do have that money coming in. So we're sitting pretty well in that particular program as far as funding is concerned for this next budget year. But their needs continue to grow and we're higher and higher those students' needs. And so it's literally, we have a school on our campus. And so all day long, we're not just operating a juvenile probation office. We have students and kids in and out all day.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's just the reason I'm saying we need to go up on 95 and get more, recapture more of that money from the school district. They're basically, when we're taking care of their problem and they're getting off cheap on it and they're keeping them cash, we should be having, we can apply those monies more than just what we're applying them to right now. But sorry, Chief, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's been interesting because with the Uvalde shooting, there has been a lot of conversations too, moving forward. That one of the Senator Perry's representative, his chief staff, and he spoke to me when I was at the legislative hearing. And he said, well, so how do you do it? How do you have a truancy prevention program and a JJP and a drug court program? And I told him, I'm like, well, I'm just really blessed that we have amazing support within our county. I was like, but we've just made it work for all of these years. You know, I'm going on 25 years now. And so he's like, I really want to talk to you because there's even been conversations since the Uvalde shooting about requiring more JJP programs. So just really interesting stuff going on the state level that we're going to definitely be paying attention to. If you move to the next page is the end of the year report for our juvenile resource officer case manager. We served 412 students in the county last year. That is the highest number we have ever in history served for our community. And if you see there down at the bottom, those are the school districts that utilize our program. Only 30 of those 412 contacts were referred to JP Court. So again, our truancy prevention program is great success. We have implemented a few new things in that program to ensure that we meet the needs of those students. We provide counseling information, resource information when Mr. Wilkinson goes out and makes contacts. But I mean, literally 412 face-to-face contacts with our students. That is significant, the amount of work we're doing. And again, going back to just that idea that it's discretionary, it's not a mandated program. There also has been conversations about truancy laws and how several years ago, and Judge Lewis remembers this well, they changed the truancy laws and we have always operated the same. Our program has always been prevention intervention. We go out early and we have a lot of success with that. But state law mandates that we can't do anything until the 10th unexcused absence. Again, with the Uvalde shooter, there's conversations that that's going to be looked at because from fifth grade on, which is about the time that that law changed. He had truancy issues and then he was a high school dropout. So just some really interesting things that have been going on from the state perspective coming down that I'm definitely going to be staying on top of for our county for sure. And then finally, there is our drug court summary. We served 14 youth, and again, this program continues to grow. We do actually have those 2 youth that were pending placement. One is going on Thursday and one went last week. So hadn't had a chance to update this, but we continue to serve with little to no money. Judge Brassel took that responsibility on. Mickey and the county attorney's office took that on. And we're not getting any state dollars to operate our drug court program. It's literally just with what we have. The next page is just a detention summary. And I provided this to you guys last year, and I wanted just to provide it to you guys again this year. And I know I'm taking up a lot of time, but I really wanted to spend some time with you guys and really, so you guys can really see a picture of what's going on in the juvenile justice world and how impactful what we're doing is. If you go through that list, you'll see that we expended over 59,000 in detention costs last year. It would have been much higher, admittedly, if we would have been able to secure detention beds. We have a lot of kids, unfortunately, in our community that are committing felony offenses. And when the law enforcement calls us, we're not able to find a bed in the entire state of Texas. There's currently over 170 youth that are sitting in detention facilities across the state of Texas that are committed to TJJD that are literally just sitting in detention.
Okay, we're paying more on the state. This state is gonna have to pay this job.
So we've taken on a significant burden, but more importantly, from the public safety perspective, which is really concerning to me, and I know all law enforcement and the judges, is we have kids that we definitely need to be detaining and putting in detention to get their attention at minimal, but sometimes it's from a public safety perspective, and we cannot find detention beds.
We're not talking about kids that are egging cars, toilet paper in houses. We're talking kids that are committing sexual assault with other
Yes.
children. Children are doing grievous bodily injury to other children. Children doing felony level crimes, and I mean young kids too.
Yeah,
This ain't just
absolutely.
all high school students. There is I don't know, there's not the inhibition people used to have to think about things before they did them back in some subsets. It's an issue. It's going to continue to be a bigger issue the bigger we get. You know, one of the things who's pushing here, some of the folks come in are great people. A lot of folks come in and are great people. We're also finding people that are priced out of the metro, people that are priced out of Waco, and they come over here in these cheap parts around the lake. They find some cheap housing, cheap for them housing, and they bring their problems with them. And we see a good bit of that. I'm not saying that this is not all homegrown. There's some homegrown problems here. But we're definitely, because of the way the economy is running, we're inheriting other people's problems as well. And this is going to continue to be a drain on resources and continue to take more and more dollars every year. I don't see the state actively doing anything to fix this. It'll be just like the mental health beds. And they got complained they were the lowest in the country for spending on mental health beds. The state's answer was cut the number of mental health beds. Now we're double the number spending each one. And that is a serious statement that actually happened. So, you know, what the answer is, I don't know. We'll yell at the wind, we'll yell at the legislature, they'll lie to us, and we'll be back where we started next year, but we're gonna be paying more than next year.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I'm going to be working, like I said, really heavily on legislative issues. I'm on a legislative committee with several of my colleagues. And if you guys have any interest specifically about any of these specific issues, please let me know. I'm happy to give you those particular representatives that are on those committees that we're meeting and having conversations with. They're going to get to know me really super well over the next 2 years. And I'm going to be there fighting for more dollars for local government. I'm a huge rural advocate. And, you know, just because we're small, it's kind of like what Marshall kind of indicated. We may be small in that idea of a small county. We have that small county feel, but our problems are just as large as any other counties. And we've got to be able to provide the services and treat all of our necessities need to be addressed correctly as well. And so I'm going to be there fighting. But if there's anybody that's willing or wanting to serve or be involved in any of those conversations, please let me know. And then moving on to that next page, I just wanted to show you guys the significant increase that we will be spending moving forward as far as detention costs. And we knew this was going to happen. This is not unexpected. And I don't fault the facilities because the treatment needs of our kids continue to rise. The safety issues continue to rise amongst our adolescent population. So we do have some really significant increases coming with budget. I can tell you, Susan and I work really closely, and at the end of the year, I make sure that I spend almost every single state dollar so that I can have rollover money. And the reason that I have not gone over my budget in the last 2 years is because we literally will sit and nitpick every single thing because we're going to spend that state money first. But that rollover money that I end up getting is not for waste. I just want you guys to know that a lot of times that goes in for our overages with our detention costs and things of that nature. If you guys were to walk into my office, you would see we're in a modular building. The floors creak on a regular basis. We do not have any furniture. We've not had any furniture in years. My desk is probably at least 20 years old, which I love it. I'm not getting rid of it because I love it. But I'm really very frugal with the funds that we have, and I will continue to always be that way. I want to be very responsible for the citizens in the community, but most importantly, from that perspective, as the juvenile probation chief, I want to be really responsive to the public safety needs of our community as well. And so that's why I really wanted to share some of that additional information with you guys and give you guys a better picture of really what's going on. My 6 staff members, I work with them to death. They're great. They do a phenomenal job, and it's not an easy job. Burnout has been difficult because we've not been able to be as efficient as we were 3 years ago because of the detention bed crisis. But we're working through that, and we continue to be really super creative. I didn't include in my budget, but I did provide you guys just in the very back section.
You're getting it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna buy it into it.
Oh, here, okay.
Seriously, we're not gonna finance it. We can buy the product, right? You weren't here, forgive me.
No.
I've already told the commissioners that you are running a fleet of degenerate vehicles, and we need to upgrade. The Traverse is a reasonable thing. It works well.
It does.
We're going to budget for the cars, $29,052. Gentlemen, we have that available in next year's budget at this point. We did not 2 weeks ago, but now we do. So it's my recommendation that we move the allotment under the 105-1103 9275 to reflect the $97,000 request. It's $4,500 increase of the current, and that we go ahead and just plan on buying that vehicle outright.
How many vehicles you have now?
We have 3 that are transport vehicles, and the Traverse has about 45,000 miles on it. And then the van and the Tahoe, which we inherited from Constable Gersh, they both have over 100,000 miles on them. And, you know, it's really been okay the last year because the Zoom hearing has been an amazing opportunity when we do have a kid in detention. We really hope legislatively that they will continue to allow us to do that because that keeps my staff off the road as well. But we just know with the referral rates that we have coming in and the kids that we're working with, and that the world is going to open back up at some point, we're going to be on the road again a lot more. And I just want to say too, I want to give, just shout out to the sheriff's office. I had a kid that I had to move from Bell County to Lubbock County because they kicked this child out of their facility because of his behavior. He's a TJJD commit. And I called them a few days before and I said, hey, I really need a huge favor. And they picked him up. So the sheriff's office always is very gracious to help us out, as well as the constables. I mean, we can call anybody, and we have such a great support. And, you know, that's why, I mean, I just have to say, that's why our department works the way it does, is because we really have so much support. We may not have a lot of money, but we have the best, we just have the best support around our completely our department. So we're very, very lucky and very, very blessed.
Are you gonna get rid of one vehicle?
We actually just got rid of 2 that were just literally not even repairable anymore. We were spending too much money. And honestly,
Need some parts.
yeah, we got a little bit of money.
Yeah, well, we need the Crown Vic, we need the parts.
Yeah, the Crown Vic is finally gone.
Oh, yeah, the last one, you know, Brad Orban's got the last one.
Yeah, it is finally gone. But honestly, I'm going to continue to use those vehicles as long as I can. I'm all about making, when it comes to the point where I'm having to put more money in them to keep them on the road, then it'll be that point where we'll just take it off. But and admittedly, the Traverse, we got the funding, part of the funding from that came from TJJD funds years ago. And so it has been very specific to my prevention and intervention position. And so that's why it has low miles, because I don't let just anybody just drive it. And we try to be very mindful about where we take that. And then we have our community service truck. So, yeah. Do you guys have any questions? I know I threw a lot at you guys, and I just wanted to give you.
How many kids are in detention? How many kids are waiting for detention there? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I have several that I've wanted to detain over there that it has just not happened. We literally, when we get a call from law enforcement and they say, hey, we have a felony offender, because it's rarely misdemeanor, you'll see the list, very rarely misdemeanors. We call minimally usually 11 facilities, and still by the end of that 11th one, we're told no.
Yeah.
Collin County actually has agreed to bring on 2 detention beds, and we'll be approving a contract with the North Texas region.
Good.
And so that will open up 2 more beds. And then one thing that we did this year that was really super creative is through state dollars, there were 7 of us small counties that needed detention. And so we've had actually 2 detention beds at Grayson County that are not paid for by the county. They're paid by state dollars. And actually, one of the kids that I had in there for 57 days, did not cost the county anything. Because we really work very collaboratively in our region as well, in the North Texas region with our chiefs. And so that proposal has worked super well. And I think we will be doing that again this fiscal year too. Yeah.
What is the typical cost a day of house?
It's up to $200 a day.
Right now, it's the 130 and up, but yeah, next year it's gonna be up to 200.
Yeah, on that back page, you can see how much they're just all drastically increasing.
The supply and demand, they know they've got the demand, they're push plan. There's just no juvenile facilities going in, and I'm not advocating we build one here either. The liability in that is, my goodness.
Yeah.
You know, it's a couple of things, when you're certified to handle juveniles, there's certain things you can and can't do, and a lot of things, peace officer you can do to defend yourself, you're not allowed to do as a juvenile officer. And sometimes we get some kids that are bad enough actors that I don't want my juvenile people around them for their own safety. We want to make sure that we've got trained peace officers with proper equipment. So all that being said, it's going to continue to get worse until the state sits down and actually addresses it. If they're serious about stopping school shootings, this is the first place they need to start addressing. We know what these bad actors are in the community. We know where they're at, but we don't even have the ability to detain them, bring them in, give them counseling, give them services. How are we ever going to stop this if we can't get ahead of it? But we know where the problem kids are. What resources do we have to deal with it? And they're just, the state's not letting them off on the street, that's fine. So the state's going to have to get serious about this.
And I'm gonna be there for the fight, so y'all will probably,
I'll see you in Austin as usual.
yeah, y'all will probably see me down there and be gone a lot doing that, but it's incredibly important to me. Being here for 25 years, I've never seen as much negativity from the TJJD perspective as we have. And I have to say, our executive director literally resigned and overturned just millions of dollars to Governor Abbott. And so we have an interim director that is currently serving and is really doing a remarkable job. And she's finally listening to the field.
Thank goodness.
And so literally I have her cell phone in my phone, and I just texted her this morning because she was testifying, and I told her how much I appreciated that finally the conversation is shifting, that juvenile probation is not broken. TJJD state facilities may be broken, but juvenile probation is not broken. We've done everything the legislators have asked us to do.
Probation was never broken. It was separate from the Texas Youth Commission probation. Probation was always the winning subject. It worked because the locals ran it.
Yep.
The local level operated, it worked. It's state continued failures, and they thought they could take TYC and slam them together. You don't do that. It doesn't raise both, they drag the boat down. And the state still doesn't see that their problem is on their end, not on this end.
Yeah, and our new
Yeah, they
interim,
keep money, you're right.
yeah, our new interim is so much more transparent than we've had in many
That's
years.
wonderful to hear.
So I don't know if she'll be the permanent and what it's going to look like, but I can tell you that we finally, I think, have some real attraction going. And you have a lot of really loud chiefs that are going to be there fighting for all of the things that we need for our kids. And, ultimately public safety. We want to keep our public safe. And just because they're juveniles doesn't mean they're not committing horrendous crimes, because they really, unfortunately, are. But anyway, that's lots of information. If there's anything else that you guys need, or you guys want to be those committee members that are on some of those committees, I'm happy to share that with you guys. Reach out to me anytime. Come by the office.
Let us know if there's a talking point you need us to carry, because a lot of
I
times
will.
the elected officials have a big voice with the state reps.
And that's what I tell them all the time, is like, I actually told them this on a meeting that I was with the chiefs the other day, and I said, listen, I can talk all day long, but the people that are making the decisions, that are prosecuting these cases, hearing these cases, have the dollars in our communities. They need to be ones involved in these conversations.
I'm happy to participate.
Yeah, and so I think we're getting that message across too, so that's kind of exciting.
Good deal. All right, thank you, Ms. Lincoln.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
anything further for Chief Lincoln? If not, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Y'all have a good afternoon.
All right, we've got Scott Robinson's our last victim today at the sheriff's office, and they're wandering around outside. So I'm gonna take just a moment to get a cup of coffee round him up and I'll be right back. Where do they start?
Page are they, let me see, so on the JPO vehicle was a 29,030 with the CAD or we, 052. Let's see, insurance.
Jail,
51.
dispatch,
They look, I don't know. They
What?
said
51.
51 is bailiff, but then they got this.
Well, that's good. Well, that's very starting 51.
For the dispatches. The dispatches.
55. Sheriff, 52. Pick one.
Well, I couldn't see on TV or
What?
couldn't see earlier.
Well, make it easy. We already ran out of money for it. We're good. So Mr. Montgomery, and Mr. Lake get back, we'll get started.
The people. The drug dollars, even if it's 13, that's more than 6 months.
No, we're gonna figure out, well, what's, I'm curious, how we're gonna do that. We're talking about it, but we need to bring it up. Okay, bring it up, but you're right, it's 46% in most of the cases. So how's it here? Are we going to figure it out? So when we bring up 6%, when we figure out the problems, how to fix the problems later in the fall. Yeah, and because we're under one payroll policy right now, and you're right, there's some things I've gone back and looked at. No, that's way more than I thought it'd be. Get there. So those folks that haven't won 6% of the TAM need to do that. for those. But then we're gonna have to go back and fix it. I mean, and you've got good payroll budget there. Is that thing salvageable? Is the question? No, that's not. Forgive me, I got my glasses on. So you gotta forgive me, I don't see as well.
That's here, if they already, are they didn't. I mean,
All right. Last proposal. There's 2 people left. It's gonna be the sheriff and Zach Davis with AgriLife. So, sheriff's folks are here. Go ahead, you'll get the floor. So let's go to the sheriff budget. Come on, computer. Seriously.
Which one you gonna start on first?
I'm waiting for the computer, sorry. Unresponsive, just wait, wait. I don't understand why it's unresponsive. Go ahead, they've got printouts, I'm gonna go computer.
Okay, I really just want to,
Guys,
you ready?
no, I'm ready, yes, sir.
Really just want to kind of cover 2 priority items that or initiatives that we're very interested in doing, this fiscal year. I know you don't have it. This is kind of a last minute thing.
Okay,
So,
sorry. Yes,
does everybody have one? So with what's going on in this world with the Uvalde thing, Judge, we've attended meetings with the superintendents.
And you all, you forgive me, I know this is divergent, but there was an email that went out yesterday, I believe your name was on it, and Mr. Bray, Penelope, and Mr. McCullough. That set up that meeting for next week. Did you get that?
I'm sure I haven't had a chance to
If
check.
not, I'll ship it to you.
Okay. And so with that, we went to the meeting with the superintendents and we were approached at people wanting SROs and simply, we don't have the staffing for it.
School resource.
School resource. However, with that being said, right now with our recruiting efforts and then we have 3, they're jailers that are fixing to start the academy. We have 1 that we've hired that's in Hill College's academy that's going to be coming out and starting soon. Plus more other hiring initiatives. We actually, in terms of sworn deputies, in the coming months or this time next year, we should have more than what we are allotted for. Now, granted, we always have vacancies in the jail, Judge.
Oh, no, I'm just worried that you more than you're allotted for that part, got any compensation, but
Yeah.
I know how the system works too. You better have more than you're allotted for. Thankfully.
So we are actually at the best part or point since I've been here in terms of our future, in terms of planning and being able to expand. So 2 school districts came to us independently of each other and gave us sample MOUs or memorandums of understanding, where they suggested that they would pay a percentage of the deputy and we would cover the difference. So generally speaking, 9+ months of school, then the 3 months of summer, 2 months of summer plus the other Christmas holiday stuff like that. Talking to the judge, one presented an 80-20, the other was a 70-30. We decided collectively that we were going to do the 80-20 if we were going to do any of them.
Forgive me, I'm German. We don't pay.
So April came out with these numbers. We just used basically an average salary of our tenured or our people to come up with the base pay, the longevity pay, certification pay. All of this equates to, when you look down at the bottom, the school cost at 80% is $76,275. Our cost would be $19,069 for 1 SRO.
But how many are you talking about?
Two
Two.
potential. So one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up now here in budget is because they too are trying to get their budgets in line and want to see if this is doable. It's my understanding, I've got more meetings with them, that their school boards are very much behind this. And these are the only 2 schools that approached us. Probably, yes, sir. Covington was the first, Itasca was the second.
Covington's been good. We've gone out and trained with Covington. They have been very progressive in getting ahead of this problem well before the Uvalde issue.
So during the summer, those deputies would come back to us. They would be on the streets working. So this includes the cost of a vehicle or all costs. So annually per vehicle is about 12 grand, I think, for the payment, but then you factor in your maintenance, stuff like that.
A Crown bit.
No, sir.
Martin
This-
made you sell them all. Those are great vehicles.
So these-
Martin made us get rid of all those.
This would be a fully equipped Tahoe.
Well, in the summer, they could build.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, they could take some too. So this is what we're bringing to you in terms of, we think that we can do this, depending on what the schools say. We might be asking to add 2 additional deputies to our staff for the SRO program. So the SROs would stay at those schools. A squad car would be there. That's one of the things that they want, is a squad car in front.
Presence makes a difference.
And it would be, safety for those students. I expect if it's approved for the additions, that next year, others might follow suit. And then, of course, we'll have to work on that as well.
Give you a heads up on what we're gonna be on the hook for if we go down this road. I'm not trying to talk to anybody about anything, but we need to be wide-eyed and open. There's 10 school districts hopefully that'll probably take advantage of this program if we start this. And, 19,000 times 10 is 190,000. I'm not saying that's this year. That's not how the case is. Those costs go up over time. There are other things that we need to work out too administratively. If this SRO is sick or has family medical leave, whatever, do we have to backfill that position? All that can be taken care of in agreements between the two entities if necessary. That's just something you guys are interested in doing. Again, we've had numerous hours of meetings and conversations with congressmen, literally with congressmen, with superintendents individually and in groups together about how do we get in front of this problem? Since the state has somewhat advocated its authority and its ability to help us out, we've got kids now that they're angry and they go in and bring a gun from mom or dad and shoot the damn place up. We can't have that. That's not something that we can tolerate in Multnomah County. I don't want my kids in the middle of it. I don't want your grandkids in the middle of it. I don't want anybody's kids in. And what can we do at this level? There's some legislative changes definitely that will make a difference for us. But our biggest fear has long been that, I'll take where I live, for example. I know Dr. Edison said he won't take anything personal if I have a slip of time. Man, it ain't exactly 15 minutes away from everywhere. It's 25 minutes away from everywhere. If you've got to have, if you're lucky, somebody's on your side of the county, they can get there. And this is no offense to sheriff, but remember, a couple of years ago, they had an issue. The first guy to pull in there hot and heavy was the Whitney police chief. When I say he came in guns blazing, he had his pistol out of his holster when he carried the car. And I'm so appreciative of that. But that guy dropped his job in the next door town and he came running when there was a possibility of a problem. These guys have made that many, many times as well. So like Chief Lincoln told you a minute ago, how we're able to do business in this county is everybody kicks in and works together. No one entity can actually do everything by themselves. The question becomes one of pure finances. 9 days ago, I'd have told you, man, as much as I'd like to do this, I don't have the money to do it. That may be a different story today after what we've heard. And if we're talking about 2 starting off and 2 school resource officers, to have those people in our schools to equip them, and the schools are willing to pick up a sizable chunk of it, I think that's something we probably ought to consider as a group. I'm not saying this is going to prevent the next problem. I can't guarantee you that, but I know that being seen has its effect. Being there has an effect. It has a deterrent. These bad actors don't like to go against the hardened target. And I don't mean the school the hardened target. I mean, if they got a sheriff's officer there, they see the vehicle out front. What are the odds of them going in? We're just cowards in Valley went into elementary school or nobody will fight with. I'm not saying that we can take on and do everything to fix this, but I think this may be a possibility to work with some of the other entities locally and try to come up with a solution in-house to provide more presence. Again, during the summertime, there's an additional need. I said they let the inmates out in the summer and they didn't think that was funny. So students get out for summertime and those kids are on our lakes. They're out in the pasture drinking or whatever it is they do that causes freedom. And so having the ability to have extra officers in the summer when these children are out of school.
Does the city of Hillsborough have an officer?
Yes, yeah, they have 3 or 4, then to include, they have one at the college. Whitney is also going to have one there as well. So we're talking about the other school districts that have all
They
expressed
don't have
interest.
a department is.
So this will
Correct.
be, this is for Covington and our task.
Yes,
Correct.
I don't understand why our task. would do something like this.
so, well, I asked that question and I don't care to
But
go
it
into the
doesn't,
answer.
it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
I know those. It doesn't even matter, I think anything we can do, we need to do. My only thing is, they won't be traveling around to be at those schools.
Well, correct. The only time they'll be traveling around, when we go to and from, and then of course, if they have, sporting events.
Yes.
They usually go
Yes.
with the bus to that school,
The good
and then
thing-
they supplement that agency's.
The good
security.
thing about this is, when you have somebody in a school, they develop a rapport with kids, they eat lunch with those kids, they hang out with those kids, they cut up with those kids.
Amen.
They're games with those kids, they pat them on the back. That is good. So if anything's coming, that's why I said this Fulton resource officer, school resource officer, like they had back in the day, is not ever gonna work. They're gonna know if something's coming up. They're gonna hear it from another kid, they're gonna know if something's coming.
So, and not only that, it's our desire that, the person, the officer, or the deputy rather, that's assigned to this school will, let's say that there's an outcry for some sort of an offense that's occurred against one of the kids. Not only will that deputy take that report, it's our intent that they investigate it all the way through to prosecution, much like an investigator would do. That way it saves our investigators from having to then come and take over. Now, doesn't mean our investigators won't assist them, but that's the ultimate goal. So they'll be basically self-sufficient. We'll assist them in any way that we can, obviously, just like we would any other agency that would ask. But primarily, they're going to be there. What I like about the MOUs that have been drafted, we'll just have to pick one, whatever David prefers. But if the school has a policy and we have a policy and they conflict, then it goes to us, and it's our decision, because ultimately it's our employee acting under our policies. So they're very much wanting to be team members in this, and I just think it's a win-win for the community. Wish we could do it for all the schools. I do see this growing if it's approved. So anyway,
I'm all for it. Where we gotta get the money, I'm all for it.
My question is, okay, let's do these two this year. Like you said, 10 come on.
We're gonna have to change the rule there.
maybe down to 8, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
they'll be down to 8 more next year, and they may have to pay 95%. I mean, the deal is, I want to see this continue, but it's incumbent upon the money we have in the budget. So let's say exactly that happens. 8 other people show up, man, that's great, we want to do that. Sorry, guys, it's gonna be 95% on you this year and 5% on us. And that's just because the first people approach us, said, we want to do this, we're able to handle it budgetarily. And I don't know that for a fact, but we never have huge numbers on revenue from year to year. It's slow increments how we work. We'll have to cross that bridge when we got there, but we'll get there. But we're not saying that, hey, we're going to continue this program for everybody in the future. Would I love to have an SRO in every rural school? Yes, sir. I would love to have an SRO in every rural school. How we fund that is what the part that have to change, depending on the demand for the system.
And so for the 2 deputies, I mean, you're looking at less than
40,000.
40,000.
And now that's going to go up in future
That's
years
cheap.
because of raises, because of cost,
Yeah.
because of overtime, or not overtime, comp time. We'll need to figure out how the school's we're going to work that with the schools. Because, in the fall, it seems like there's always Friday night lights and volleyball and
Yes.
everything else. And so they're going more. So how we're going to work those hours and keep accumulating huge amounts of comp time. And are they going to have the time on? Because one of the ways to do that is following that school schedule. So when the teachers are off, that deputy is off. I think that's an important thing to do, is to give that deputy that rest and reprieve, follow the school schedule. I know that we obviously have something for them to do around here, but if they're going to work and that Monday's a holiday, then I think the deputy needs a holiday with kids.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, did I understand they will be following?
Say again?
They will be following the bus.
Yeah. Yes.
Home games for sure.
Yes.
I don't know about away.
And that is standard. I mean, generally speaking, the SRO will accompany the bus or whatever to that school, and then they'll supplement the security at that other school. That's not uncommon at all. So this includes the payment to the vehicle, which leads me to the next thing is in 2019, I think, is when we started our lease purchase program, with the first models being the 2020. So right now we have 15 of the newer style Tahoes in our fleet. When we took over, we had a smorgasbord of all different kinds of cars and different color cars, and varying stages of condition. None of which would be a frontline police vehicle in a metropolitan area. That's since changed. If you look around at the other law enforcement entities in this county, I believe that we have the best fleet of vehicles. I think hands down, when you compare them to the other agencies, I think that we are setting a standard in terms of that. We're the only agency in this county, unless DPS has got some, that have the new body style, the 21s and 22s. And that is, the credit goes to you guys for approving our lease purchase program. But with that, we only have 15 right now that are in patrol. And we have another one on the way that was delayed because of a chip. However, what we would like to do is in this fiscal year, we want 6. But we're going to trade 3 Two of them are 2020 models, and one is a 2017 model. It's a former K9 vehicle. We have already gotten trade-in values on those vehicles. One is 21,000, one's 18,000, and one's 9,500. That's for the 2017 model, the older one. So that's 48.5 is
You know what the mileage is in that 17?
hmm?
176. What about on those 20 miles? What kind of mileage we put in the vehicle year?
So on one of those 2020 models, it's the one that we got for 18,000. I want to say it's somewhere in the area of 150. Yes, compared to the other 2020s, that one has a lot of miles. The officer, the deputy that was driving at the time was the corporal on that shift, and he was driving around going back and forth to the other two deputies' calls.
So what was the trade-in value?
On the one with the 150-ish, it was like 18,000. And so if you keep in mind, a fully outfitted Tahoe is gonna be somewhere around the 64,000 ish, the more or the less, I think is about right. And that's fully equipped, minus the radios that we put in ourselves and of course our computers.
So when you trade those in, you leave the cages in?
Yes, that's all part of it because they, if I understand it correctly, and Mike Cuba is with American National. They basically clean them up and then sell them to other agencies. It's fine.
We don't work in the real estate, you know.
There's a big place in Florida that I know a lot of people, they buy a lot of them. They clean them up and do some PM on them and then repurpose them to law enforcement.
I don't know how this would work. I got it in my head. I thought about it, the last couple of days. We have IT loading up, going Huron, and here, they're going there to get over there, they gotta drive back because this computer part was in her truck, and then she's gotta drive back, and go back and forth, back and forth. And if we had something, single vehicle, that we could put everything that they need in, when they go there, they have everything. They don't have to go back to the yard, oh, it's in her car, it's in it.
The head thing, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, and so I don't know how feasible it would be if we said,
Clean that vehicle up and
how about we give you 18,000? I don't know how it would work.
Where we're currently at with American National Leasing, we've got $208,907 in payments set up for next year. That's an overage of the current year budget, which was $264,789. The year to date actual for 5/31 was $186,06. So how much is this going to be on top of that additional 28,000 we've already got to put in there to cover the costs?
I'm gonna try to answer that and I'm gonna defer to April and to Mike. Currently right now, I think the total value of all the vehicles that we have is like 1.5 million, but our payments are around the 200,000. So basically we're for $250,000, we're driving 1.5, and that's something that we're gonna continue because we always have to have police cars and so it's and things do get more expensive. Now, the way that this is going to work, I'm going to defer to April and to Mike. The reason why I think it's a little bit high is we didn't trade in. This is our first year when we're actually trading in ones that we've leased. So we're going to be the 2020s we're currently paying on, and we're trading them in. So that's going to come off, right? And so I think the way that it works is we'll stay around that number and Mike will refer to Mike and Mike Chuba.
Let's see again, what's the number?
number for next year, total my calculation would be 166,000.
That's including the vans. So that's including the vans also because they're in the lease, so the vans are in the job.
Correct, and forgive me, let me be very clear about that, what I'm talking about, good clarification there. So it's a capital lease in the 3102 line. So right now I've got one American National Leasing at a one time with 110,000, 1,771. I don't know what that represents.
4 or 6 vehicles,
Yeah.
that's 277 to 2072.
Yeah, and then so you've got the leasing.
That's the original 6, I
Yeah,
guess.
Is that gonna include the $6 million that you're talking
And so
about?
there's where we're at, rest of those.
Yeah, because.
I'd like to sit down and
You get this.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, okay, give us just a second, you're gonna run there to grab the schedule or in terms of scheduling these vehicles, that way we can kind of get this figured out right here. Yeah.
It is, because we're bringing in the 3.
Right, and this year we wouldn't have any because the values are going to be the down, it's going to be spread across the city. So we won't have any down payment for those.
You know, oh,
So if we did this, I'd miss your whole program. I wouldn't.
Yes.
so what we need to figure out.
Well, that's what,
There's the deal with-
I know, that's what I was gonna say, there's a brand new one.
Yeah. what do you-
I would think that would be better than.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Because you know, they have been, any like the little way.
Well,
It's not a 40,000 bid.
but it's been test drove and it's not going to.
Oh, it's just, oh, they ditches really quick.
114 miles, not apparently. These things happen.
He wasn't going that fast when he hit it.
Well, they came to stop.
Yeah, I mean,
Very quickly.
he landed on all 4 tires, that's a plus.
I think it was only 90 when he left the road.
Well, we don't discuss
Yeah, no doubt. So what we're looking at here is you're saying that our pending in these 622 Tahoes. Our total lease cost of 398,050. We got a down payment, we got net cap of 367,552. Current lease is pending on that, so payoff residual in 54,000 range, annual lease would be 116,090. And that's the first thing to do, so that means 116,090. And that's. And I'll wait till she gets the schedule back down there and make sure we're on the same one. So what I'm showing in the software at this point is, so the original 6 we bought, it's at American National Leasing, 277,727.82. It's a one-time payment this year of 110,771. I've got contract 3024C at 9,831. I've got contract 3030C at 8,376. I got contract 3055-3058 recurring at 42,717. I've got contract 3095C recurring at 12,332. I got contract 3129C recurring at 12,440. And then 3130C contract recurring at 12,440. So again, Susan's got a schedule she went to go get, print that off, so we've got it, make sure we're all on the same page. If you're relatively close to the same number, that's not going to be a problem. I just said what we budgeted for last year was, it's amended there, so we're good to go on that. We should be good. So yeah, let's see what the actual number is going to look like. I'd like to know what that total capital lease number can look like if we do this at the end of the year. That's what I'm interested in.
One other thing while we're waiting on her to return.
Yeah.
Is in terms of availability and finding them. Well,
That's another good question. Let's say you're going to get 2 SRO officers, you got to get 2 vehicles. What are the odds of actually finding?
so we have April, and April's already got 6 of them. On the ground at a dealership, with our names on being held. So these aren't needing chips. These are ready to go. All we have to do is
Aging paint jobs.
outfit them.
What about the radio cost? Because we're going that 700 to 800 band radio. Is that included in that 15,000?
No, in fact, the for this year, this coming fiscal year, we're gonna do the 2 radio thing. It will be the following year is when we decide to go with the ordering, upfitting it with the radio and stuff like that. So,
Okay, cool.
and he doesn't know about that yet.
Yeah.
But, or our upfitter, doesn't know. So yes, these will have 2 radios in them, just like our cars are fixing to have 2 radios in them when we do the upgrade.
I applaud y'all's hard work and policies, if you will, toward vehicle. we've had less than desirable vehicles for many, many years that, I never thought in my life I would see it evolve.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've had previous sheriff come in here and tell, oh, we don't need a vehicle money, we'll just season. I'm like, well, what's your season? Not really a cop car.
Yeah.
That's not what you want.
Very good job.
Ooh, yeah, that's a humdinger.
We're gonna give it back.
Uh,
It went back.
That's right up there with that, right up there with that Winnebago, you know. Heck of a deal there. Meth lab on wheels.
I've seen them seize. When I first, we had a
I've seen them see stuff, in used car, I wouldn't.
I know, right? And they put it different, you know, put red and blue lights on it. Jeep Grand Cherokee had 3 sides of the one wheel and 1 off sides on the back, and they drove it around for almost 6 months and could not figure out why they couldn't keep the tire.
You kidding me?
Seriously?
Seriously?
I'm not joking, you. It was a silver.
My goodness, my goodness.
But to answer your question,
Yeah.
you know, for years, it was, this would include, this would allow us, this is with the plan of the SROs. We're gonna use the vehicles regardless. But yes, the SROs, this includes,
Okay, just making sure that was included. I figured it was, but I want to clarify that. was the case.
Yes.
Maybe each money in the vehicle is included in that, so.
I noticed you've got okay, on your Hill County lease recap at the bottom here, you've got a highlighted number of 216, or I'm sorry, 226, 128. What does that number represent? Is that the total cost of all current business or what?
That's the 23-24. Whoa, if you want to trade anything or continue on.
No, that's correct. So that's a projection for a future budget year based on vehicles that have the 3 annual payments.
Mhm.
Which again, part of that is trading one that finishes up the 30 or, you know, 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
And if it goes down, that equity gain in that is used, it's also used to push down the cost of the next round of year. So that's what the budget for 2 years now, 23, 24 would look like in an annual payment without any impact to trade.
Okay.
And keep in mind that does include the banks, so.
Yeah, no, it's that, so- correct.
Good job.
With the Hill County needs to. We're take the buildings, we're putting up in everything. It's gonna make a big difference.
Well, I'm telling you from experience. These deputies go junk. I mean, literally robbing parts of the phone and put on other people.
Oh, remember we used to have 2 or 3 Crown Vics sitting outside in the transmission.
Each part that's pull one out of the, there you go. They have come up with this revolving. Like a normal sheriff department would, or a normal business.
We just poured so much money into that.
And
Now,
I'll tell you,
vehicles, repairs, and didn't get any return on that
Not
investment.
anything to do it with, and manage somehow.
Good commissioners, is what I like to say. Good commissioners. for it.
I'm all for it. I've been there. I rode those horses with 3 legs. It's not good.
well, when you consider how well they're equipped, and the fact that thanks to ESD, I mean, they have AEDs on, we have. People bought some devices for people that are choking. We already have first aid kits, but the ESD is coming out with trying to get us a full trauma kit. So, and we currently have, we have Narcan, which we have used on overdoses and so, you know, it's not just law enforcement, we're first responders and oftentimes they're the first ones there. So they need good, reliable equipment that gets them there because it might be, you know, your loved one. So this is a great program. This is just what we need to continue to do the job. This is a necessary evil. We have to have these vehicles to do our job.
We agree, we just have to be able to pay for them.
Yes, sir, I understand.
So, yeah, we agree with doing that, but we got to pay for them at the same time. So let's just make sure there's something that we can pull off. I hate to tell you yes, and then later it's like, sorry about that.
Right. Thank you.
You ever get tired of looking at the numbers?
Thanks, Brenda.
Bring it right.
So our current annualized for FY 23 is what we're looking at. It's about $220,800. Is that correct?
That's the sheriff and the jail.
Yeah, that's a sheriff and the jail. You take the transport payments off of that, you're gonna lose 11,893 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wait a
And
minute.
then we've got a vehicle coming.
Oh,
Yeah, it's starting at the up, it's supposed to be at the outfitters.
went out.
So we don't have that payment figured, factored in at all.
So we got 7 vehicles there, 7 payments in here, but we want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then. So check that, you want me to go through it, the amounts is jumpy, but.
You got the 110.
All right, and then 9831. That looks about it, but that's at 3024, yep, sure enough.
83,700.
Yes, ma'am. And then that 3052.
352. 12,440. I just have one.
A one payment for the two of them, that's what it is, okay, because it's a combination of 131, see, 30 right there.
Okay.
Yep. So our total expenditure for fiscal year 2022, those above 2022, on that bill, you take that 1189 ounce, you take basically 796 and change.
But we're gonna have this other vehicle. I was trying to get that straight earlier with you, Mike, and with y'all, with the sheriff's office. I thought from the purchase orders that we had one additional unit ordered that hadn't come in, and I couldn't get any verification on that. So I don't have that figured into this.
That's one with on the chip.
Well, we now have it, and the car is supposed to be at caps, broken.
Just haven't taken delivery.
So what will be the down payment on that this year, and then the payment next year on that one?
So that one is, we have to $20,000 budget for the down payment of
Yes.
that. And then it'll be around 9300, like the other ones, and it's smaller payments.
It'll be
Following year.
about 10,000 because the interest rate is higher.
And so, yeah, we don't have a payment on the 17, but we got payments in those 20s. Which contracts are those 20s?
So they'll see the ones where he highlighted.
So I got 3 different spreadsheets.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We got right here, bid
So it's 27, well,
2779, 2782.
yes.
Okay, that's an 110,000, yeah. Okay, good deal. So that's gonna drop those two payments respectively. So there's 6, 110, 771 divided by 6, give me a rough estimate of which one was given. Sorry, I gotta get the calculator.
They'll still have to make the payment, I'm sure.
I'm curious about that. So
No, so
that's what they just said is they won't. So go ahead.
yeah, so the trades will be the down payment, it'll be a lower. It's gonna cover the down payment on all systems. Oh, payment, so. The next following.
So that,
It'll cover the down payment, but we'll still be paying out the 110,770.
so we still got that payment. So we have 110,771 for this year. We gotta pay. This coming year, it's gonna be a payment to go to them. And then we're gonna lose the vehicle, we'll still be paying for them. Or does that payment go away when we
No,
lose the vehicle?
it's-
You say
This
that
is
out
the
loud?
final, this is the final year of that. This is the final year.
Yeah, correct. This is the final year of the 6, so yeah. So this is next year.
Next year,
I was
the
gonna say-
budget we're working on.
But yes, not current year, but forward year. whatever they call it. So we'll have that payment scheduled. And so we're gonna get that payment for a year, but when we're getting rid of these vehicles. I mean, it sounds like we're gonna,
These three?
and now these 3 that we're
These
getting
three
rid of.
in possession of 6.
Yeah, so we're gonna pay, well, here's the beginning of the year, so these 3 vehicles, 20 miles we got, they're gonna trade in. We're gonna pay him, basically 18,461 per vehicle for this next year. If that's 110,
7.
yeah, divided by 6 is 18. 461.83. So we're gonna pay him 18,461, 18,465 at the beginning of the year, but then we're gonna get rid of the vehicles and we're gonna get back accordingly 18,000 or something like that. for the vehicles. So what I'm trying to figure out is what our total budgetary needs are going to be for next year, the way this is panning out. So I've got a schedule here that shows we've got 6 vehicles under one contract, with the last payment being due this year, 110, it's next fiscal year. See, I got myself screwed up now. This next fiscal year, 23, that's 110, 171. I've got that payment. Let's skip the transport ban. I've got SO 3024 payment that's due. I've got the 3030C payment to due. I've got 40,000 on 4 Tahoes and 3538. I've got another Tahoe of 12,332, and I've got 2 more Tahoes, 24,880. That leaves me in total right now, without adding anything of next fiscal year, I need $220,800 just for payments and all the current got. So my curiosity is if I got to put, well, but that's what the schedule is. I mean, if I'm wrong, you can argue the math all day, and I'd like to know where
Well,
it
this
is.
is bad stuff on the vehicle like that.
I would need to go through the.
Our budget's not getting set today. We've got plenty of time to talk about this. So let's go through it and look at it. You know, if we can do what we want to do and still lodge that number in at that 220 mark, then that's something that's doable for us. That's looking around the possibility. But if I gotta have 220 to start to pay for what I've got, and then we've got to have an additional X number of dollars, that starts to get tough to fund that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not against this idea. I just need some final hard and fast numbers.
I'll take a better job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That'll make life better for all of us. Again, not against the idea of board, just gotta pay for it. So. Good. Yeah, good deal. Other than that, what else we got?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
We're still waiting to see the numbers on, personnel and stuff. But
Yeah, we gotta wait for the come back from the open enrollment. Once we have that, we'll share that with everybody. So,
so we're not arguing anything else right now.
okay, right now, I like that. I like the caveats. Awesome. Appreciate that.
So
I did wonder
Yes, ma'am.
if this resource officer will be different than Mr. Wilkinson, because he doesn't make as much as this is.
oh, you're talking about from the probation
Mhm.
department? Yeah, it's different. Significant.
So you already have people in mind for these?
So we put out feelers, and yes,
Okay.
Within the
it-
department?
yeah.
You already put up
Because this is-
at least one that's extremely interested and very capable.
older guy, younger guy?
Well, I mean,
Middle of
I
the
don't know
road.
how to
yeah.
answer that.
I mean, like
Experience.
You can't answer that.
So,
Pause.
Yeah, we're being
Okay.
careful who we're gonna put in the school.
exactly, because this is, I mean, yes.
It's touchy.
And you really want to, it's somebody, you have to get somebody that really wants to do that job. You know, oftentimes, and I'm going to offend somebody, might be listening. Oftentimes, it's been my experience in law enforcement that sometimes, like when school districts have their own police departments, that those officers aren't always like the tip of the spear type of person. And so we want to be very selective to make sure that not only are we putting a capable officer there, but one that's capable of taking care not only themselves, but also the students that they're there to, and the staff. So
They get along good.
Hmm?
They don't get along good with people because
yes,
that's where you make an impression.
correct.
You know, we're asking a lot of these officers, the sheriff's stated policy is, when it comes to an active attack, is people don't wait. You're the first one there, you better get up and go in, it's your job. And he stated many times publicly, and this department has held that up. So the people we're gonna find to do this is not gonna be just any Joe Blow officer, it's gonna be somebody with some talent, with some understanding, with some intelligence, the ability to interact with other human beings. I know it's gonna be a difficult position to fill, but I don't think I don't have the position to find it.
I'm not really excited, but I mean, it's an initiative that we wanted to do when the sheriff took office and just simply haven't been able to do it. But it would have been one deputy for this side of the county, one deputy for that side of the county, and that's really not. It's not really a bylaw, and I'll put this first again.
The idea can't be somebody very physically fit, but 45 years old, you got hit on the shoulder. with them.
Go quick, Kimber.
So I love where you.
Any other questions or anything?
Thank you very much.
Everybody will stick around in case they start doing this to each other. These better.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. We have to stay much. Look forward to seeing your spreadsheets. Thank you. One of the things we've talked about, April's proposed policy that's going to affect the sheriff's department. I've got that policy. I'm reviewing it now. Something we need to start talking about fairly quickly. And that's mitigating some of the issues that we continue to see. Again, it's part of our payroll policy. We started that thing in years ago with one size fits all. And it doesn't work that well. There's some places we can tweak it in-house as a piece of the sheriff's office, some ideas they've come forward with that I think that we ought to consider, and we'll get you on the agenda real quick to get that. Probably next Tuesday if you're ready to go.
Sure.
Okay. It'd be a good idea.
Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, anything further? If not, we're gonna move on to our last victim. That will be Zach Davis with the Agri Extension. Now we got you a new building. Why didn't you work? Oh, okay. Well, we covered that already. We're good.
Appreciate y'all saving me for the last one. Hopefully won't take up too much of your time. Just four main things that
Okay.
that are in our budget. I did ask for a 3% increase for Leanne.
You got five.
Yeah,
Yeah, 5%. Yeah, and we can take it back if we need to. I mean,
no,
we don't, Jack.
we don't need to.
We wouldn't dare take it back. She worked everything.
Right, no doubt. I'm certainly glad to have her and some
Us too.
longevity in that. We asked for a small increase, and forgive me here, but let me look at this.
I'm going to it real quick, trying to make sure I got it covered the way it should. be.
Asked for $150 increase in our dues and conferences line item.
So I need to put that in there because that's something that we have not done yet, and I'm open to that for sure. I just had a reoccurring of $330, but we need to add somebody. What's the conference we're going to, or what's the due?
Well, it's for our professional association membership, and the 330 has certainly covered that in the past years. And I'm not aware of any increases, but with everything else, we're seeing increases on everything. And it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't see a 10 or 15, $20 jump in those memberships as well.
That just moves to 480 from 330. That's frugal enough, I tell you.
Okay. We asked for a bump in that training and mileage line item, which covers our mileage around the county.
So let's talk about that and how much do we need to look at? Because you guys are the same thing. They don't have a fuel line. They have to ask for reimbursement. So, but their fuel basically comes out of this. And as we have more 4-H kids, and we have great, you guys missed a heck of a great 4-H banquet last Friday night. The number of kids we got in that program is more than we've ever had. With multiple agents servicing that program, with more kids going to animal project, you name it. It's incredible. And so the question is, how high does that number need to be?
Well, currently it's at 16,000 for three of us. And I put in there just a $2,000 increase to bump it up to 18 to see if that'll work. I mean, we're seeing some relief in fuel prices right now, but our reimbursement rate is set for the remainder of the year and we don't get to choose that. So, I mean, I would like to think that we could figure out how to make it work for that.
I got no problem with 18.
18,000, that's divided between three of us there, myself, Angie, and then our new FCH agent, Rachel, who y'all may not be super familiar with yet. But,
She's it's a great addition.
but I felt like that would be a quality number to try this year. We've been that high before and then came down to 16. And so I think that's a manageable number.
Sounds like you got your 18, Mr. Zach.
The last thing, and you and I have discussed this, Judge Lewis.
Yes, sir.
But was I put an extra $3,350 in our miscellaneous line item. You told me that comptroller won't let that be above 500, and so that number was to cover things that may not make the move. Leanne's desk has been patchworked together, and I'm just not 100% confident that that's going to be able to transfer and still have.
What I'd like to do is put that in your supply line item because, desk $200, not a capital outlay line item. A chair is $200, it's not a capital outlay line item. And if no one has the objection to it, I've got no problem with the money. We're going to have to budget this year to replace some of the furniture that simply, he's right. It's been there for so long, you go to pick it up, it's from part of me. The question is 3,500 enough?
I mean,
And I don't know, I've never furnished a building from hood to toe. I haven't even,
I haven't either. I mean, I was certainly trying to be conservative when I asked for it, you know.
I understand.
We know what we've spent,
Well, here's
as a county for that building out there, and so.
well, and not to short-change them things. Here's a couple of thoughts I have. You're gonna have a conference room and you're gonna be able to carry your tables and chairs concurrently. So you've kind of got that deal covered to some degree. Well, I say conference, you got training area that you're gonna follow. And you guys, your individual offices, a couple of you gonna need desks, not just one, but I think there'll be 2 or 3 desks probably needed. That means 2 or 3 chairs will be needed. And then I don't know what else goes along with that. The furniture, how good is that refrigerator you got down there? Is it going with
The
you?
refrigerator's good.
Okay,
Refrigerator and stove should make the move.
Okay.
Without an issue. That refrigerator is probably only, I'm gonna guess 3 or 4 years old.
Okay,
We
so-
got it when Karen was still here. One went out, and so we replaced it then, so. Those are quality products that we have yet. It's really, it's the furniture that I'm more concerned about.
I'm sure.
I don't think that's no money.
I don't think 3,500
For
for
now,
nothing.
my self and Danny, and bought an extra chair and trash cans, just trash
yeah,
cans,
anything
all
like that.
55-gallon barrels, like, you know, like real trash. Can. I didn't want to put a 55-gallon barrel in the so I bought like a real trash can. And that's, and I ordered it to you, like, you know, like this keeps on 2,000.
That's what I'm
Just
thinking.
for chairs.
I'm
But
thinking
Because
there's
if the
a
new one, we don't have, right now we have to pop up against the wall because of all the chairs that we got, you know, fall out of.
You know, spending the money on the building, we're going to do mass, decent looking stuff in it. Not really like those.
I agree. And look, I'm gonna look back for Zach. And I know Zach, you can give him $1, he'll give you 50 cents back if you don't spend it. I would recommend that we stick an additional 5,000 in supply line item for this year, because it's a one-time expense that we're gonna need, not CHTA.
I think you'll need that.
Supplies. And that he'll be frugal with it, and if you don't spend it, you'll get it back, I guarantee it. It's just how it's
So we're
always
gonna
been.
raise it to 7,500.
I would for this year. And again, I don't know if 5's enough. I think it can be done, but man, I'm not thinking everything. But I'd like to see us.
I almost passed out when I saw the paper. I know we hadn't paid it yet, but the trash cans have arrived and arrived today.
Oh, I mean, chairs,
3 desk chairs, like,
they're insane. You're $200-$300 a piece for a chair. They won't break them in the first 2 months. It's nuts what they charge.
2,000. I think, but it's like 16 or 18. For a couple of chairs. and trash cans.
And the problem is you can get cheaper stuff that you don't want. We've made that mistake around here, bought cheapo desk. If somebody spilled their coffee on it and melted them, you know, literally it bubbled.
And we've taken some time and looked at some used furniture, office furniture locations and some quality products in that deal, and that would likely be the route we went if specifically for that front area, you know, and that's the main thing that I want to look, you know, top notch, like you're talking about. When folks walk in there, I want them to think they're in a, you know, a nice spot that's going to match the outside of the building. Now, when they get to me, hopefully they got more things to worry about talking to me than looking at what my desk looks like. So,
Well, the other things I can see you guys are gonna need for that, just not the internal furnishing, you're gonna need water hoses for the outside, you're gonna need plants they're gonna put in there on some of the landscaping.
so let me tell you about that. We've got a new master gardener intern group. And so that was their charge. They have a project for every intern group. And so we struggle from time to time finding something, but this was built in and just ideal. So I've charged them with designing and implementing that landscape out there with my approval on plants that go in there and things that are done. But they're designing that, and they've got a budget set forth for that as well. So I think we're good on that end of things.
One of the questions I had, I need to clear this up, I had a meeting with lunch with the folks from McKenna Street, just trying to get an update on where everything is. They're waiting on the steel to show up, fix the rest of it. They won't be doing the rock for another week or so because they want to finish the stub out before they finish the rock. They say once that rock goes up quick and concrete board does, but they need to finish the stub out. In my mind, and I don't have a picture in front of me, we've got some flower beds right up against the building. And then do we have flower beds away from the building as well?
I think some islands kind of in that parking lot area.
Did we put irrigation to those?
We did not, but we've got a plan with that rainwater harvesting system that's been implemented. It won't run full time, so we can run hoses over there, connected to drip tubes.
May I, would it be beneficial if we had them lay a pipe under the concrete?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to reach out to those guys and let them know that's something we can do, is that it's part of the irrigation system. I understand it's coming off the rainwater. But to put out to those islands that way, just. That's it, they're gonna do all that flat work out there, and so I take it, yeah, all that's gonna go in, so it's just one of those things that we didn't think of initially, but the more we get into, like, that probably a good idea to tackle that now. Like one of the things from the Covington Street Annex, that we did not take in is front security, what keeps somebody from running part of the building? Well, I made some calls today, and they're gonna present you guys with some options, but basically planters that are 8 foot long and weigh up 1,000 pounds a piece, and they'll have irrigation going. But you won't be able to put a car through them. Somebody made a new drive-through with a Whataburger last week, and we don't need that. You know, accidents happen. We have a large number of people going over there, pay taxes, to vote, you name it. So that's the kind of stuff we're starting to think about now. Maybe that security wasn't as high on our mind. We made some of those plans. So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, what else with this budget then, Zach?
I think that's it. That was just the
Okay.
four items that we felt like were.
And I went ahead and moved feral hog eradication up another 5,000. Look, that program is doing great, and I hope it's something here that I can't close. That's escape. I hit the escape.
I just did that number, and I want to say it's 1,240 something, I believe, for the year, for the budget year.
I guess that's a conversation we need to have. So what is your spend so far on tails this year?
Man, I wish I would have pulled all that before I came over
We're
here.
not setting that budget until the 13th, but if you can get that information to me by the end of the week, that way I can take another look at this and make sure that we funded this to a proper level. If we get money from the state and the grant to help refund, that's awesome. But I think we've got a duty to fund this program and keep it moving. Since we brought it back on, Zach's been super successful with it. I just remember the days when we used to hire the federal trapper, or pay the federal trapper, how much we paid and how little we got in return. It wasn't the trapper's fault, it's just the way that program was set up. And the major thing we did not get from that program is we didn't get the educational portion of it. And Zach's done a great job with these mandatory educational classes to how to take these animals, how to do it legally, how to do it safely, and not poison the rest of your ecosystem while you're doing it. So I think the education is a huge part of it, but to continue to encourage people for the little spend we put to eradicate feral hogs, the amount of savings we're seeing each year, and the lack of less than damage to crops, to fields, number of accidents on 171 is going down exponentially. So I think it's a worthwhile program to continue to fund.
And I think the interest is from other counties is growing as well. They see the successes of those that have done them. And I've been asked to speak to the judges and commissioners conference in November, kind of about our program and how we manage it.
I'll go see you there. That'd be fun, 7 hours of heckle. I mean, watch you cheer you on.
Sure. So, yeah, and we'd certainly welcome you to be there to give your 2 cents if you'd like to. But anyways, I know y'all will get an invitation to that when Dr. Kelm comes to thank y'all for everything. So anyways, that was it. We appreciate so much the new building that we're getting. I can't wait to get out there and get settled in. So
It's coming along. They're still telling them about Thanksgiving, get your moving shoes on around
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
we were just kind of talking about that a little bit ago too. So I've toured through there. I don't put a hard hat on. I figured my head's hard enough. So, but those guys have been nice enough to stop and kind of, the guys that were framing kind of point out what was where and so forth. So it's looking up, looking really, really good out.
So it's gonna be pretty slick. Something to be proud of. All right, well, gentlemen, anything further, Mr. Davis? If not, Zach, thanks for being with us this afternoon, and I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, guys, so that exhausts everybody we have on our schedule. What else do we need to talk about?
We're not doing the 4th floor anytime soon. so-
Well, I want to talk about that when we get to some things. What I'd like to do on the 4th floor, and I don't have any numbers for you, and I haven't inquired anything, because I didn't think I'd have any money to do 4th floor, and I don't know that we will.
This,
Yes, sir. So that's something we're still interested in, because we need the extra space in the building. The auditor's grant, you've seen them. The treasurer's office is pretty much capacity, and there's room to make suites of offices up there. The first thing we need to do is we need to look at putting the elevator in. So here's one of the ideas I've got for that. We have yet to sell the parking lot to the city. We're going to sell that parking lot across the street for a little over 100,000. It's not budgeted in our budget. One of the first things I'd like to do is I'd like to look at putting an elevator up to the floors next year and use that money to sell that parking lot to do it. Because a couple of things, ain't none of us getting any younger, including my maintenance help, and carrying things up and down that flight of stairs may not be the best idea. You know what I mean? So, I would like to pursue that if that's something that you guys would allow me to do. Okay, well, I'll start getting numbers together.
I think we're gonna put Larry on the south end of it. Fourth floor.
We can push you guys out the windows easier. I mean, you got the big office.
That would.
I think the fourth floor is going to be headed to, yes, I'm just trying to figure out work from stuff. But if you want to come back to the project superintendent, I have a job for you.
I ask if you don't please fill it. Because
Yes, ma'am, one at a time.
the contract for it, do the whole shebang, because
I agree.
capitalizing all the little bits and pieces here on Mr. Precinct One over there. A
Well,
lot to keep up with.
the reason I think you're gonna have to do it in one project, and not piecemeal like we did that, is the disruption of the construction of the courthouse is gonna go on for several months. So, that's something we need to consider. And if it's gonna be all at once, let's pack in here. Because we're gonna use the office space, we need it right now.
Get in there.
Every person-
The fourth floor is a little underdone for the moment, that's the issue, I don't know the answer to that right now. And I've got to find you a spot for them, that means we're gonna have to double bunk somebody, or I don't know what that looks like at the moment. All that being said, I don't want to put somebody out in the hallway, I think that's unfair to them, it's not a conducive work environment. But I have to find some places to put some additional people around here, and that means I really got to look at the fourth floor of the building, like we talked about a couple of years ago. I just haven't brought that on simply because we've got some construction projects going on, kind of construction out, but we do need to take care of that. We do need to-
See what. Insulation.
Well, that's a huge factor, you know, that's one of the things, one less thing to do later. The other thing is, look, I've just been dragging your feet about it because I've been burned so bad in MRB group, we got to find an engineer. You know, in this building, we're gonna have to hire an architect and engineer, it's gonna have an expense to it, but we can hire somebody we trust. Yeah, somebody takes it.
So we're gonna be here this week.
We need to talk to these guys and see. I'm hesitating to public commentary. I've had both good and bad experiences with them. I think that overall that they did a great job of rebuilding the courthouse. When they rebuilt it, there's things now that we know better, but I think this was one of the first stabs in the state of Texas at fully rehabbing a courthouse, and I think they've learned a lot in the last 25 years. There's some things here we do differently nowadays, no doubt. And there may be some materials that are available nowadays that were available 25 years ago. So it's been hard to point the finger directly at them. And I think politically we made some decisions that probably didn't help our cause. You know, I got an elevator shaft with electricity, but no elevator in it on the third and fourth floor. So let's start investigating that. Who we're going to pull in to look at that, because that is something that's going to happen.
I have a question. We just took a lesson on the motor we ordered a year ago. And they're wanting to know what terms I want. 36 or 48, and there's about $1,000 difference. It's not much. Anyway, I said, well, let me ask her what would be easiest for to do.
We need to look at it, it'll have to be approved, the contract will be.
I'm gonna send it to you. And this guy. Well. We should have. Because we went over it a year ago. Well, it's over a year ago. We went over it, but anyway. Right now we have the cat.
Right, I don't know that we have that, but the maintenance budget.
Well, it should be about 49,
Tuesday.
50,000.
Tuesday, we should have some sample policy together Tuesday. We're gonna have a workshop, kind of figure out a few things. You guys, we can guess what you guys do, but you guys know So we'll keep in touch and send them stuff for next Tuesday's commissioner, but we'll try to have something we can start. Everybody eyeball and go, okay, I like this, but I don't like that. So we hold off 2 weeks and he's not here. Yeah, you lose one, that's information I wouldn't let out the bag right there.
For Indeed.
Okay, so for precinct,
50,000, I think, close to that.
well, we, of course, our numbers, you guys gotta go back and get what the county auditor about starting numbers, but this is Commissioner Precinct 1, budget maintenance operations. Lot classification.
That's your capital lease is same as the prior year.
I
So
got
that wouldn't factor in.
Road Bridge 1, construction, capital.
Yes.
Divide it, $17,000 cheaper.
Well, I have the option at the end of the lease, so all the stuff. being applied.
This is an.
Got a lease price and then whatever else. for price.
Oh, yeah. it's about
Available,
20, right.
and they went down to 17,000.
Wow.
And that's pretty good.
772, 77.
Yeah, that's what we have currently, but this, when he's taken possession of, we don't have. We have machine and equipment rental of 46,000.
Okay.
So let's see, the what's on the operating lease is Caterpillar.
Yeah, it's Caterpillar. Which is an awesome machine, but the air conditioning is zero.
Really?
Oh,
Interesting.
and it comes factory with the fan blows on, so anytime you see.
So when did the problem left in the US? Oh, okay.
It is hot.
So,
One thing about the deers, they got good air
Boy,
conditioning.
you can they will freeze you.
so machine equipment and rental right now, open detail on it. So we've got that Caterpillar lease in there at 46. So is that additional?
But he's got another. Right, in addition to the Caterpillar.
Yeah, we have a John Deere.
Okay,
So
so,
it's here.
okay, we hadn't paid for it yet. Okay, so what was your agreement we made when we ordered this thing? I don't remember.
Oh, I think it was, if you give me
Well,
a
tell you what.
day to sleep over all these numbers.
Step over, get that information together, get back with Susan, and we can get your guys' budgets kind of figured out this week going into next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'm gonna set a proposed tax rate, proposed elected official salary. We're gonna have a budget workshop. We're gonna correct anything we find in mistakes and things we slept on and said, I either like this or I don't like that. And so we'll come back and take action on that kind of stuff. There may be some other things on that agenda too. Talk about payroll policy as it suits the four of you guys, talk about the sheriff's office. They want to limit on the payroll policy, how certain things are paid out. For example, right now, after 6 months, you're eligible for PTO. They're thinking about lengthening possibly that out. I believe they've got a proposed policy and will talk to us about that, how to affect the sheriff's office. They're trying to better manage some of the issues they've got down there. And I told them I'm open to have a conversation about anything. So, but they sent that in last Friday.
Adjourn.
You got a motion to adjourn? Is that a motion? Motion and a second. We stand adjourned. Thank you for attention to these matters today. Goodness, where did we get all this paperwork from? Number of trees we must kill to make this possible.